God created the heavens and the earth, Genesis 1:1. These opening words of the Bible set the stage for a profound exploration into the theological landscape of creation. However, the theological significance extends beyond the iconic Genesis 1:1, encompassing the entirety of the creation narrative presented in Genesis 1:1-28. This comprehensive examination delves into the theological richness embedded within these verses, exploring the divine act of creation, the role of humanity, and the overarching purpose behind God's intricate design. Creation as an act of divine will. The narrative unfolds with God's declaration, "Let there be light," Genesis 1:3, initiating the creative process. Each subsequent day introduces new elements into the cosmos, meticulously crafted by the divine hand. The theological underpinning here lies in God's intentional and purposeful act of creation, emphasizing his sovereignty over the material and spiritual realms. As the narrative progresses, the refrain, "and God saw that it was good," echoes after each creative act, affirming the intrinsic goodness of God's creation. This underscores the theological principle that creation reflects the divine character and is inherently valuable in the eyes of the Creator. Humanity, a unique steward of creation. The pinnacle of God's creative work is revealed on the sixth day with the formation of humanity. Genesis 1:26-28 provides a glimpse into the divine counsel where God says, "Let us make man in our image after our likeness." This proclamation establishes humanity as a distinct creation, endowed with the divine imprint and entrusted with a unique role in the created order. The theological significance of humanity being created in the image of God is profound. It conveys the inherent value, dignity, and purpose of each individual. This theological truth becomes the foundation for ethics, morality, and the understanding of human rights within the Christian worldview. Stewardship and dominion. Genesis 1:28 bestows upon humanity a dual mandate: to be fruitful and multiply, and to have dominion over the fish of the sea and over the birds of the heavens and over every living thing that moves on the earth. This dominion, however, is not a license for reckless exploitation, but a call to responsible stewardship. Christians are tasked with caring for the environment, recognizing that the earth is the Lord's and everything in it, Psalm 24:1. Theologians debate the nature of this dominion, whether it implies a tyrannical rule or a benevolent caretaking. Regardless of interpretation, the theological lesson remains clear. Humanity's role as stewards involves both nurturing the earth's resources and acknowledging the Creator's ownership. Theological implications of the creation days. The days of creation in Genesis 1 present a structured framework, each day marking a specific act of divine creation. These days have been a focal point of theological discussions, with interpretations ranging from literal 24-hour days to metaphorical periods of time. Regardless of the interpretative stance, the theological message remains consistent. God is the purposeful creator who brings order out of chaos. The structured nature of the creation days emphasizes the intentionality behind God's creative work, challenging believers to appreciate the intricacies of his design and to recognize the divine artistry woven into the fabric of existence. The Sabbath rest, a theological capstone. The narrative crescendos with God's rest on the seventh day, the Sabbath. This rest is not indicative of divine fatigue but serves as a theological capstone, symbolizing completion and divine satisfaction with the work of creation. The Sabbath introduces the concept of rest as an essential rhythm woven into the fabric of creation. The theological implications of the Sabbath extend beyond the cessation of labor. It embodies a call to rest in God's provision, trust in his sovereignty, and acknowledge the divine order inherent in creation. Christians find in the Sabbath a reminder of their dependence on God and an invitation to experience spiritual renewal in the rhythm of rest. The theological harmony of Genesis 1:1-28. Despite the myriad theological discussions and interpretations surrounding Genesis 1:1-28, a harmonious theological core remains. The narrative underscores the following key theological principles. 1. God is the sovereign creator. Genesis 1:1-28 affirms God's role as the sovereign creator of the universe. The intentional and purposeful act of creation reinforces his omnipotence and establishes him as the ultimate source of all that exists. 2. The goodness of creation. The refrain, "and God saw that it was good," echoes throughout the narrative, emphasizing the inherent goodness of God's creation. This theological principle shapes the Christian understanding of the world as a reflection of God's character and design. 3. Humanity's divine image. The creation of humanity in the image of God imparts inherent value, dignity, and purpose to every individual. This theological truth becomes the foundation for ethical considerations, emphasizing the sanctity of human life. 4. Stewardship and responsibility. The dual mandate of be fruitful and multiply and have dominion calls Christians to responsible stewardship over the earth. This involves recognizing the Creator's ownership, caring for the environment, and fostering sustainability. 5. The Sabbath as spiritual renewal. The Sabbath introduces a theological rhythm of rest, inviting believers to trust in God's provision and find spiritual renewal in acknowledging the divine order inherent in creation. This concept extends beyond a weekly observance to encompass a broader spiritual rest in Christ. Conclusion. Genesis 1:1-28 stands as a theological masterpiece, inviting believers into a profound exploration of the nature of God, the purpose of creation, and the divine design behind the cosmos. From the declaration "in the beginning God created" to the culmination of the Sabbath rest, this narrative weaves together theological threads that have shaped the Christian worldview for millennia. As Christians engage with Genesis 1:1-28, they are beckoned to delve into the theological richness encapsulated within its verses. Whether contemplating the intentional act of creation, the unique role of humanity, or the call to responsible stewardship, believers find in this narrative a comprehensive framework that informs their understanding of God, creation, and the purpose of their existence. In the beginning, God created, a timeless proclamation that transcends the bounds of history and invites believers into an ongoing journey of theological exploration, reflection, and worship.